Welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is Kodeations. In today's video, we're going to be diving back into some Cookie Run Kingdom, and I'm going to be bringing you guys 5 underrated cookies that you might not know actually have quite a bit of value in the game and that a lot of players are sleeping on. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Diving right in, ladies and gentlemen, so the very first cookie we've got here on this list is going to be Snow Sugar Cookie. If you don't know, in the past couple of updates, we've actually had quite a bit of buffs being applied to Snow Sugar in general. Things like updates to the individual skill, things like percentages being buffed, things being, being affected by Snow King, just a lot of different types of buffs being applied. And with that being said, absolutely going to make it worth your while to invest in, especially early game. So basically, all you need to know about the individual skill, it's applying Snow King 43.3% of the summoner's attack, basically 120% of defense, and then 150% of HP. That's what Snow King is going to be spawned with when you utilize the skill. But then basically he's going to be doing area damage. Now, what's special here about Snow King is that it's actually going to be a ranged minion. The minion does not rush to the front. It's not going to be soaking up much like any damage or anything like that. It's going to be placed in the back row, which is very unique. And the skill that it provides as well, the Blizzard skill, actually is going to be doing AoE damage from a distance. So again, very, very unique here compared to our other summoner cookies, things like Pumpkin Pie, where Pon is a front-end tank. But with that being said, essentially you're also getting an attack speed reduction debuff by 25% being applied to the enemies. Now, as far as overall toppings go for Snow Sugar here, you actually have 2 different builds. We've got this one here, as you can see, which is a mixed build. And ideally, I would say if you're running Arena specifically, the mixed build's probably going to be the better way to go. However, I will say, keep in mind, these are 5 underrated cookies. These are not going to be the 5 best cookies, all right? Clearly, I know there's better choices out there than utilizing Snow Sugar, but I definitely think Snow Sugar has a lot more utility and could absolutely be used right now, whether you are a new player or a long-term player. You just have to build them specifically. And not only that, like I said, the opportunity is definitely there via all of these recent buffs. When it comes to this build here, naturally, you're not looking for any certain percentages or anything when it comes to individual substats. Ideally, we're running the full 3-set Searing Raspberry set, and that's going to be because we want to take advantage of the 3-set 3% additional attack. If we were to swap this over and run 3 solid almonds, we actually have to have a 5-piece set in order to get the additional 5%, so that's why we are running the mix set at the way it is. Now, you could absolutely get in here and you could run a full 5-piece Searing Raspberry set. However, though, keep in mind that you're going to want to have to focus in on as much damage-resistant substats as possible, and in my opinion, it's going to be a lot harder to do that via substats versus running something like this mix set here where you're getting the best of both worlds. You can see that I'm getting 34.7% attack, and then also if I take this down, I still have 22.8% damage resistance. Now, officially diving in here to the second cookie we've got on this list for the 5 underrated cookies in Cookie Run Kingdom, that's going to be Almond. I know some of you guys might say, but Kodeations, everybody in the arena's using them. Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. But however, Almond gets labeled as one of those cookies that are only good for the scam comp. Outside of the cheese comp and the scam comp, they're absolutely useless. And that's actually not the case. There's a lot of players that actually build a almond cookie specifically for PvP and PvE to go back and forth, because just because his skill is very good with a cheese comp, you can easily use a cheese comp in other types of content. It's just not as popular because there's going to be better options or better choices to add to a more safe way to go. So again, Almond definitely a very good one here. Essentially, if you don't know how his skill works, he essentially links enemies up together, and then whatever damage is being applied to one of them, all of those cookies get that damage. And that's what makes Almond absolutely very, very good when it comes to being a support unit, as he actually is. Now, and then as far as overall substats go and toppings of choice go, I would honestly say the best set to run is going to be a full solid Almond set, no pun intended. Because realistically here, you're not really focused on trying to get as much cooldown as you can on Almond's skill. You really just want to make sure that Almond's skill is going first before whoever your damage dealer is that you're trying to, sync up with, to make sure that the damage is being spread across whoever Almond chains. With that being said, though, guys, running a full solid Almond set's going to be the best. You're trying to get as much damage resistance as you possibly can to keep Almond alive, because again, he's not there to provide a mega ton of damage. He's actually there to just support as what his role actually is. However, though, when it comes to, like I said, running something like a cheese comp or trying to mitigate when he should use his skill or not use his skill, then yes, you might need to invest in a little bit of cooldown via the substats just to try to make sure that you're syncing up according to what the rest of your team is. But again, don't sleep on an almond cookie. It can absolutely be used outside of the arena and outside of the standard cheese comp. Alrighty, now officially jumping in here to the third cookie we've got on the list of 5 underrated cookies, and that's going to bring us to Squid Ink, guys. I'm telling you right now, I have been sleeping and sleeping and sleeping on a Squid Ink. I built him to level 31. He was an event cookie. Everybody was talking about how it was just a trash cookie, not worth investing, blah, 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 blah. And here's the thing. In my defense, I had sorbet, I have black raisin, I've got other cookies that are going to be, in my opinion, better damage dealers and better AoE damage dealers. What I'm going to tell you, though, is that Squid Ink does exactly what Squid Ink is supposed to do, and very, very good, and at something like a 16-second cooldown by default. Very, very good AoE damage dealer. I've actually lost to several teams in the Super Mayhem and also in the arena last season via that we're running a Squid Ink, just because the AoE damage was perfect. Not only that, when it comes to being a magic user, it also has an evade just like an ambush cookie does, which can also aid in the fact that, Ink doesn't get targeted with certain skills and can mitigate some damage and still be alive to then inevitably do a ton of AoE damage to the enemy team. So if you happen to get a Squid Ink cookie and you're looking to run some AoE and you're short on other cookies, Squid Ink's not a bad investment. As far as overall toppings go, I would honestly say just 100% invest in searing raspberries, man. Squid Ink's there to do as much AoE damage as possible, as much damage as possible, so naturally, focusing in on as much attack as you possibly can is only going to aid in Squid Ink providing just that much more damage. Naturally, when it comes to running things like the overall arena, the additional damage resistance is going to allow Squid Ink to stay alive longer, 100%, so definitely try to focus in on that when it comes to substats. But outside of that, though, cooldown and attack are going to be your best friends here for substats, and like I said, a full Searing Raspberry set is probably going to be the best because Squid Ink is a pure damage dealer. Alrighty, so now officially diving in here to the 4th cookie we've got on this list, and that's going to bring us to Mint Choco Cookie. Now, just very similar to Squid Ink Cookie, I'm going to tell you guys right off the bat, I have little to no experience running a Mint Choco Cookie, and quite honestly, I didn't really need to. I got lucky, I pulled herb at the very beginning of the game, I never ever needed to build the speed meta comp, I always was able to just achieve what I had with the cookies that I already had. However, with doing some research, talking to people in the community, reaching out to several big top players in the game, they said that Mint Choco deserves to be on this top 5 underrated cookies. Essentially, a lot of people are saying that it could be very beneficial for early game players prior to Cotton being in the game. Now, of course, that Mint Choco was probably right up there alongside Herb, and I have also been placing Mint Choco on my tier list videos above Herb or right at Herb's position, and that's going to be because, according to a lot of those players that have used him, the healing is actually not bad that's being provided, and it's providing also a 40% attack speed buff. So essentially, this is the cream of the crop when it comes to building a speed meta composition, which, if you don't know, has been literally top tier almost every single season, every single arena time, and Super Mayhem, everything. They just absolutely shred, and they have yet to be shut down. Now, sometimes the team does get modified on which cookies are being placed on there, but Mint Choco's always been on there. And then with that being said, obviously for the overall toppings of choice, people are saying that the full solid almond set's going to be the best because Mint Choco is pretty much just there to survive as long as possible, to continue to provide that attack speed buff to all of your allies, and not only that, the additional healing. When it comes to individual substats, I will say damage resistance once again is what you're looking for here. The additional attack will add to the overall amount of healing being done. And then last but not least, the cooldown is always nice because then he'll be utilizing his skill more often to provide that, attack buff as often as possible. But again, keep in mind, the buff is very, very nice. The cooldown is not already terribly long. And not only that, like I said, you want to make sure he's staying alive long enough so then they can continue to provide that buff, the longevity of the fight. Alrighty, and then with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to officially bring us to the 5th and final underrated cookie we've got for our video today, and that's going to be Tiger Lily Cookie. I see a lot of people asking this question via my live streams, at least recently. Is Tiger Lily worth investing in, and what's the best use for Tiger Lily, and all that jazz? Well, in my personal opinion, I use Tiger Lily a ton in the world exploration. Anytime that I needed a stun prior to RV coming into the game, which, you know, honestly, I'm biased because it's my favorite cookie, but prior to RV coming into the game, this was the best cookie to go to for a stun or a interrupt ability. You wanted to make sure that you were popping off Tiger Lily's ability to stun whatever enemy or boss you were going up against in stages like 725, and still a very, very good use for that case. Not only that, as far as overall arena goes, just like Almond, you can build a stun cheese comp. You can build a composition utilizing just multiple stuns with Tiger Lily and also Sea Fairy. You can literally utilize Tiger Lily early game, no matter what, as a damage dealer. I've got a friend right now that's literally been playing the game for what, a little over a month now, maybe almost 2 months, and they've literally got all the way to episode 9 running Tiger Lily as just an as an extra DPS on their team because they just didn't have anybody else. So again, definitely not a bad cookie to invest in, really, really underrated. However, when it comes to overall toppings, though, there is one thing that you're looking for, and that's going to be at least an 8% cooldown. You have to make sure that you're getting the 8% cooldown, especially for the overall arena comps, because you want to make sure that Tiger Lily goes first in the arena, because that's what's really going to shake up some of those compositions that really rely on a specific rotation. The moment you stun the enemy, it will then mess up their rotation. Hopefully, different cookies won't be utilizing their skills at the right order, and with that being said, you could potentially win that battle. So for me personally, once you achieve the 8% of cooldown, then you could pretty much run whatever else you want, but I think the best option would probably be to run as something like I got here. I've got 3 Swift Chocolates, which is going to give me that 8% cooldown. Actually, it's giving us 13%. But then we're also running 2 solid almonds. The 2 additional solid almonds are just here to give as much damage resistance as possible. And then also, like I said, for the additional subs, the additional cooldown, and the additional attack isn't going to be bad. But again, keep in mind, you just need to at least make sure you're hitting that 8% mark. And then obviously another option here, instead of running the 2 solid almonds, you could easily, if you really wanted to, run 2 searing raspberries. It really just depends on how you are trying to build Tiger Lily and what you're really lacking. Your biggest goal is to hit that 8% cooldown, and after that, it's pretty much up to you and what you think you need or how you want to build. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to conclude today's video for the top 5 underrated cookies in Cookie Run Kingdom. As always, guys, don't sleep on these top 5 if you happen to get them, especially early game. They still hold a ton of value, even though they might not be the tippity top of all those individual tier lists, and most of the players in the game at the very top might not be utilizing them. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not worthy or they don't have some sort of utility. As always, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on these 5 underrated cookies, and do you think that somebody else should be included on this top 5? And not only that, let me know if you want me to make another video very similar to this one, because I'd love to hear what your opinion is on that. As always, guys, don't forget to join the Discord. The link's provided down below, and I will see you on the next one.